Hi, Glennis.
Is this New Year's Day or New Year's Eve day?
New Year's Day.
Wow.
So it already happened.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We are still in 2025
We are.
recording this episode.
We're breaking the fourth wall.
We are. They'll be listening to this in 2026, so we're really speaking to the future.
That's crazy.
So today's a special episode. We're going to recap some of the best things that happened in 2025. We're going to start the year out on a good vibe. You can kind of call this a full good vibe episode.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to talk about what's coming in 2026 and what we're looking forward to in the year and really get you guys going on a positive start to the new year.
Yeah, I pulled some key races that I want your hot takes on.
Can't wait. Let's dive in.
So, Brian, you said that you thought about some good things that happened in the last year.
I did. I think 2025 was a shit show in so many ways, and I am not sugarcoating. I'm choosing to elevate positive things that happened that are true.
Okay.
Because algorithms and the people in our lives tend to do a great job of elevating the bad things that happen.
For sure.
We don't have to put any extra work into that, but we do need to put a little bit of elbow grease in if we want to see the good stuff.
Yeah. And you did that elbow greasing or whatever. So hit me.
Let's start with all the wins in 2025, because there were actually a large number of electoral victories for Democrats across the entire year that have moved many places and the country in some ways in a good direction as we head into 2026. Starting with historic victories for the New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial races.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. These women were elected to the House in 2018, Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, and
They were roommates.
And despite a lot of hand-wringing, were able to deliver these big double-digit victories at a time when Democrats really needed them. And both of those states are going to be in a much better position because of it.
Yeah, that was a vibe. And it's a vibe that we should take into this year.
For sure. Next up, we have the Georgia Public Service Commission races. We have talked about this on the pod before, but it's worth reemphasizing that we just won 2 races by over 20 points statewide in Georgia for the first time in 2 decades.
And I think this is something we'll be talking about a lot this year, which is affordability, and the subheader of that, your energy costs. Heating prices are going up 9.2%.
Insane.
You're going to see that at the polls, baby.
Absolutely. Next up, across all of these special elections that you really don't hear that much about, Democrats were able to flip 21% of GOP held seats in 2025. And so that includes the November elections and all the specials that happened throughout the course of the year. That means of every Republican held seat that came up for election, including the ones that are like R plus 50, we flipped over a fifth of those seats into Democratic hands.
Okay.
If that happened next year, we would be talking about a blue wave, the scale of which we haven't seen in decades. Insane.
Let's manifest it.
Next up, your fave.
Oh.
The Miami mayor's race.
Who, by the way, we have to give a shout out. I did not know this. Our friend Allie Owen, she did the fundraising for that campaign.
Yeah.
That was her candidate. I did not know. So shout out Allie.
Congrats, Allie. That was a really big deal. First time in 30 years we've had the mayorship in Miami.
I like Miami. Do you like Miami? I feel like New Yorkers have a hot take on Miami. Either they like it or they don't.
I'm not a Miami person.
Fair.
Mainly because I find it stressful to be outside.
Yeah, it's also expensive.
I love a cloudy place.
Oh.
Give me London.
Then okay.
You
All
know?
right, Taylor Swift.
Another big win that was really unexpected for 2025 has been how the redistricting fight has unfolded. If you flash back 7-8 months ago, Donald Trump, already terrified, almost 2 years out from the midterms, terrified of losing control of Congress, sets out on this dirty, nasty mission to steal as many seats as he can to insulate himself from the repercussions of his actions. He starts bullying Republicans across the country to gerrymander their states even more, even though there's a huge disparity already in how gerrymandered red states are compared to blue, who have obviously moved over to these independent commissions. And it looks like a disaster at first. It really did. To put ourselves back in the mindset, it was pretty clear at the time that Republicans were going to pick up 12 to 15 seats, more than tripling their margin in order to make it really hard or impossible for Democrats to flip the House next year. And so Democrats leapt into action. It's probably the best example we have all year of the party mobilizing strategically in a coordinated way all across the country. We made moves in Ohio and blunted the impact of that map. We've made moves in California, most notably to pass Prop 50 and to essentially negate the Texas pickups. We're making continual moves in Missouri to block that map. We also are making moves in Virginia to add seats there. And so it was a very coordinated effort. All Democrats were like, hold up.
Right.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
We're not going to play that game, or we're going to win it. If we're going to play, we're going to win.
Right. We're going to play the game with the rules that you're creating, and we're going to beat you at your own game.
And so redistricting has gone much, much better for Democrats than anticipated. And it's still shitty, and I still can't wait for everything to be on a commission and all the things. But like you said, if you guys are going to start it, we're going to end it.
Right. Period. Yeah, that was, and we talked about this also last year, but we see like in Texas in the Democratic Senate primary that someone like Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is in the race because she was redistricted out of her seat. But I do think it's catalyzes healthy dialogue around having two exciting candidates in the Democratic primary to get more people engaged in the primary, to get more people engaged in the general.
Agreed. Another juicy win from 2025 was the Wisconsin Supreme Court race.
Right.
Remember back to the spring, feels like a lifetime ago, Elon Musk poured in tens and tens of millions of dollars into this race, saying that it was the downfall of Western civilization if they lost the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. And we whooped their ass by 11 points.
Wow.
When we were being outspent by Elon Musk dumping all this money into the race, all this IE money. And not only did we swing a seat, 11 points in a state that Donald Trump won just 4 or 5 months prior, but also that court has already gone on to deliver other victories, including an ongoing redistricting battle to undo Republican gerrymandering in the state of Wisconsin, where we win about 50% of the vote and they currently send about 70% of the congressional delegation. So that was a really big victory that I think kicked off a long string of wins over the course of the year. And we have another one coming up in 2026 that will also be another chance for us to put them on their ass. Yeah,
let's take a moment to just label how big of a loser Elon Musk is. What a tool. What a loser. All billionaires. I really believe, I used to not be like, oh, billionaires shouldn't exist. But now I kind of am like, billionaires shouldn't exist. You should, at a certain point, just have to give your money to social services.
My whole thing is around inheritance. For me, I actually am personally okay with a billionaire who earns it in their lifetime. Do I think
earns it? What do you mean earns it? They earn it off the backs of hardworking individuals who probably don't have a fair equity plan. They earned it based on the United States government giving them tax breaks. Why would you need $1 billion?
No, I'm not saying that they need $1 billion. I think that in a capitalist society that is as global as ours is, runaway success is going to result in billionaires. And I think that the opportunity is to put really strong taxation in place so that the wealth is not being accumulated generation after generation after generation in a way that concentrates power in a ruling class forever.
I just don't think anyone should have to, after that 999, 9999, 9999, you don't need to get to the one. But the fact remains, Elon Musk is a fucking loser.
Period.
Rotting from the inside.
Absolutely.
Took a literal chainsaw to our social services abroad and to many, many, many government jobs. Shame, shame, shame. Loser, loser, loser. You must hate yourself, Elon Musk.
Loser, loser, loser. Okay, a little win, but worth mentioning. Our friend, Caitlin Dray, also known as Moms for Iowa. One of the Moms accounts started, I think, back in the 2020 cycle that exists in many states, part of the Emily Amick universe, or at least like coordinated via our friend
Emily and
your phone. And Caitlin Drake built this big online following, has been an activist for a long time and educating people about how to be involved in their state. When the opportunity came up for her to run in a special election in Iowa, she jumped at it, ran, and flipped a Republican-held seat in Iowa, breaking the Republican supermajority there that had allowed them to basically ram all kinds of stuff through without any Democratic input whatsoever. And now she's in the legislature being a badass mom and legislator.
Yeah, I mean, in this year of our Lord, 2026, she won in 25, but I want to name her digital media prowess, her lived experience that she was actually able to speak to and run on and now legislate on. It is so valuable and important and exciting. And I hope that everyone feels more engaged by seeing peers run for office and win.
Absolutely. And we need more of it.
Except for us.
Except for us?
Yeah.
I have 3 more. I have 3 non-electoral ones.
Okay, let's hear them.
I want people to really listen to what I'm saying is a victory here. I'm always rooting for America to do well, full stop. And I think that it's a win for so much of our policy agenda to have been proven correct in 2025 by Donald Trump doing the opposite and face planting, right? That we've actually this year proven out so much of Democrats' overall agenda, especially on the economy, that by Trump coming in and passing tariffs and passing huge tax cuts for the wealthy and cutting all of this regulation on corporations, making all of us less safe, he has really damaged the economy in ways that are very measurable and objective, right? That inflation and unemployment are rising. It's taking longer for Americans to find jobs when they're out of work. Consumer confidence is down. And across the board, metrics point to recession in over half of the country already. And so I do think that that is horrible for all of us and for America. And it reinforces that we're doing the right thing in fighting for the policies that we are.
Right. The reality of our policies are being played out in the human lived experience of Americans because things are failing. And what we're advocating for as a Democratic Party, or with getting more Democrats elected and passing through those legislative priorities, we're actually going to help working families.
The other 2 wins, one is the Epstein files. Honestly, Democrats were able to maneuver really strategically in DC for once and force the government's hand to release the Epstein files. The discharge petition, we don't have to get into the mechanics, but like that the Democratic House led by Ro Khanna in this particular instance very successfully has undermined Republicans' obstruction to transparency and the release of the Epstein files.
And MAGA Mike Johnson running away, scared of his own shadow.
The longest Congress has ever been out of session.
Yeah.
I think ever. Definitely in like 100 years.
And Republicans still, as of recording, had no solution for the ACA subsidies.
Right.
And affordable healthcare for Americans.
Right. Yes. And then my last win for 2025, thanks to you and so many others who worked on it, is the No Kings protest. The single largest demonstration in American history, which did not get the coverage that it was due.
Yeah, page A6 on the New York Times or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But absolutely shows that the resistance, the revolution, the rebellion, whatever you want to call it, is here. It's alive and doing well. Yeah. That people are ready to fight for the country and against what Donald Trump and MAGA stand for. And we're not alone. And if you're listening to this, you are certainly not alone.
No.
And that's a huge win because at the end of the day, all of these other things, in my opinion, flow from that.
Totally.
From the community that is built around a more positive, inclusive, equitable future for the country.
Yeah.
And having tens of millions of people show, both on the streets and online, that they're in support of that is a powerful thing.
Yeah. And resistance is now best shown at the polls. I mean, it's a yes and for me, right? It's like we need to continue to organize. Protesting is just walking together. Like we need to continue to walk together towards a better, more equitable future and against this takeover of the Trump regime. And not only will we have an opportunity to do that this year, but we will also have an opportunity to walk with our vote and show people who we want to actually represent us in office. I want to ask you one question, and it'll kind of be old news. But did you see recently the DNC finally completed their postmortem and Ken Martin said, "We're not going to tell you what it says." What's your opinion on this? You know what I'm talking about, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I can blast them all day long, but the reality is it's coming out. I'll tell you right now, we're going to see that report. And if you don't, podcast listeners, don't tell anyone that I'm telling you this on the pod. But if I get my hands on it, y'all are going to see it. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that right now.
The New York Times, basically less than 24 hours later, had some tidbits from the report. And something that really stuck out to me that chaps my ass, honestly, it says the prescriptions for success moving forward were more tactical than strategic. The audit found that so-called peer-to-peer text messaging had not actually generated meaningful conversations or moved the needle in persuading voters. I do not agree with that at all. It's like, sure, tell yourself that because you didn't invest in it.
Interesting. I haven't seen this.
Yes.
They're bashing relational.
So for those who don't know, relational organizing is like, if I knew about a race and I was like, "Hey, Brian, are you getting involved in XYZ? I really appreciate this candidate. Here's why I'm voting." And that's even like kind of elite relational. Relational is as basic as saying, "Hey, do you have a voting plan?
Right.
Do you know what date the election is?" I think it is one of the most powerful tools we have in democracy. And for the DNC to be like, we don't know the efficacy of that. Well, of course, it's a little soft, right? But that doesn't mean you should not be investing in the culture around engaging in politics and going to vote and going to the polls and talking about candidates with your community and your peers. Like, that blew my mind.
Yeah, I need to see the data. I want to see what they said.
And by the by, I think, look at Zohran Mamdani's comment to volunteer. That's relational. That's digital relational organizing. Comment,
for sure.
Sign up here. So that was one of the most successful programs to date to translate from digital organizing to IRL organizing.
For sure.
I just don't, I mean, there's a big split in the party about whether this should or should not come out, and that there's no point in looking back on what went wrong. We kind of know what went wrong, et cetera. And it's like, I think it's okay to like hold space for errors and acknowledge them and still move forward. It's like, you can do both.
That weirdly sounds like Republicans trying not to talk about January 6th.
Totally.
They're like, we can't look back. We can only look forward and join together with our felons in order to...
that have all been pardoned.
...wreak more havoc on American society. Like, no, we can actually look back at that. We actually should definitely look back at that.
I just think it belittles the Democratic voter and the party voter of saying, we're not gonna acknowledge or talk about it. We're going to sweep it under the rug. Just trust us. Just trust us. We don't need to look at it.
I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
2026, watch out.
In full.
Okay, Brian, for those who might be new listeners to the pod, you are the co-founder of an organization called Oath. You do really exceptional work in, I think, democratizing giving to elections and pushing people in the right direction for where they can make a meaningful impact, whether it be like policy-based or state-based, et cetera.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm a culture person, and I'm big on the worldview building of opening the tent to more people to understand that the Democratic Party actually does care about your basic human rights and wants to advocate for policies that center them most of the time, not all of the time. Democrats are not perfect. No candidate is a hero. But I often work with you or others in this space for guidance on where should we focus our energy? Where can we make a change? I'm going to give you like a little rapid fire of some races that stand out to me.
Love it.
Senate specifically, because that's where I do federal mostly. But then I would love for you to kind of list many of the gaps I probably have here. But I'm going to talk about Senate. One thing I do want to name, Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, 77 years old. Do we think he's going to retire so that Trump can put in a new grandpa?
Yeah. Retirements often come in June after the end of the term. And so we will be on intense
retirement
watch come next June for both
Alito
and Thomas, who we expect that they will want Trump to pick their replacements. And
can we just not let them go through? Like,
we don't have the votes because it only takes 51 votes to do Supreme Court now. And what that means is we're going to be doing intense pressure campaigns on Collins, Murkowski, again, per usual. And if we fail, then we're going to use whatever vote they take against them in November to flip those seats. But let's get into the races that you're talking about.
Okay, these are the Senate races that I pulled. Maine, Susan Collins, toss up?
Susan Collins, I'm starting at more like a lean R.
Okay. Lean R is lean Republican, which means we don't have...
She's a cockroach. It's an uphill battle. We have two candidates in the Democratic primary that are worth talking about, Graham Plattner and Janet Mills. Janet Mills being the very popular governor.
Elderly,
governor. For sure, but still popular.
Yes.
And Graham Plattner being the populist, lefty kind of candidate.
Questionable tattoo that's now removed. We talked about it. Yeah.
And I will keep it at lean R until we come out of that primary. I feel like the Democratic primary could unfortunately get ugly between the two, with Plattner spending a lot of money to tell people that Mills is too old to serve, and Mills telling everyone that Plattner's too far left, and ultimately those being the biggest vulnerabilities being talked about could hurt us in the general. But that's how democracy works, and that's where we're at. So I'm going to keep it at a lean R for now.
Okay, this race, I've been told, could be one of the most expensive Senate races to ever exist. North Carolina.
Yeah, that tracks. We have Roy Cooper.
I like Roy.
Yeah. Governor. Former popular governor of North Carolina. You're sensing a theme. Also old.
Is he?
Yeah.
How old?
I think Roy Cooper's 68. Hang on. I'm looking it up. He is 68. Nailed it.
Whereas John Cornyn, who we'll talk about, is a bad 73.
Yeah.
Roy Cooper's a good 68.
Yeah,
just
he is.
Visually.
For sure. Absolutely. Very popular guy. He's running against Michael Whatley, who is the former chair of the RNC. And I love our chances there. That's probably one of our best flip opportunities.
Great. Something that we're considering doing early days of Q1 26, so now, is naming the villains. Before we know who our candidates are in the Democratic general, looking at the Republicans, look at how bad they are. Look at what they've done to the state. Look at how they take credit for federal bills that they voted no on that brought money to their state. Georgia,
John Ossoff, our guy, guns ablazing.
Yeah, but he won narrowly in 2020. It wasn't like a big margin there.
Those have been the closest races in the country when it comes to U.S. Senate.
Two runoffs.
Yeah. We're talking about decimal points always. It's been very close.
Why relational organizing matters.
Oh, say that. John Ossoff seems to be in a pretty good spot currently. I really like his odds of holding on to his seat in a blue wave year, which is, as of right now, what we're anticipating. He has more money than he knows what to do with. Right. So I'm definitely not telling people to go donate. But yes, certainly an important race.
Okay. This one kind of hurt me because I remember working on cheat sheet and trying to get him elected. Gary Peters.
He's retiring.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we have the Michigan open seat. There are currently 3 main Democrats running. Mallory McMorrow, former state legislator who's been viral many times. Abdul Al-Sayed, I think is the last name, who's endorsed by Bernie Sanders, just went up on TV, actually. And
went up on TV means that the ads are up on TV.
Correct. Thank you. And Haley Stevens, who's seen as the more establishment pick and more aligned with the DSCC and the party. So 3-way primary, hard to predict. And they'll be running against, I think it's a competitive. Is it competitive on the Republican side as well?
Yeah, the Republicans think they can.
I think that it's John James and a couple other Republicans running for the nomination. So Michigan's a little messy at present because they have a competitive primary for their governor's race as well, where Gretchen Whitmer is term limited. So lots of money going to go into Michigan, but also we're not going to have clarity for several months.
Yeah, again, so we should be naming the villains there.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to do rapid fire, and you choose which one you want to talk about. Texas, we've kind of already talked about that ad nauseum a little bit. Ohio, Iowa, New Hampshire.
From most clear to most complicated. New Hampshire, Chris Pappas is the Democrat, great member of Congress, love his odds of holding that seat for Dems in New Hampshire. Ohio, Sherrod Brown is obviously a repeat contender.
Former senator.
What?
He's a former senator who's now running for re-election to go back into...
He just lost in 24. He's a populist moderate, interesting kind of guy, very deeply aligned with labor, pretty popular in the state. If it's a great year for Dems, I can see it, but it is for sure uphill after he just lost by not so close a margin. In Iowa, we have Josh Turek, who's a state legislator, as well as Zach Walz, also a state legislator. No, spelled differently.
Tim Walz.
W-A-H-L-S.
Ah, okay.
Josh seems to be getting the most establishment support. I know Zach, and I'm a big fan of his, but like it's a little unclear what's going to happen there. It would be a huge surprise. But on her way out, Joni Ernst did everything she could to piss people off, right? Where she was like laughing at people about their healthcare expenses.
And that we all die anyway.
Right. And exactly. She said everyone's just going to die. Like just crazy shit out of Iowa.
Also, that's just not true. If you have better insurance, you're less likely to die. If you have insurance, you're less likely to die. If you have insurance, you're more likely to go to the doctor early for preventative care rather than going to the ER when you are bleeding to death.
Yeah, she's a good example of someone who was just in DC for too long and not cut out for this work. And then Texas, messy. We've talked about it before. Tallarico versus Crockett on the Democratic side, Cornyn versus Paxton versus Wesley Hunt in the Republican primary. We don't know who's going to come out of either primary at this point. And all we really know is that we're probably going to spend $100+ million on the race.
It's really crazy.
It's very crazy. Honorable mentions. There are also a bunch of independents running where Democrats have not been doing well in the last 10+ years and don't have a path to victory. And that includes Dan Osborne, who people might remember ran in Nebraska and came shockingly close last cycle. And then also we have new independents running in Idaho and South Dakota, which could unexpectedly move maybe one of those races into a slightly competitive column. But the more that we can do to put Republicans on defense everywhere is going to be much, much better, even if we end up losing we will end up losing the majority. But even if we lost all of them, it's still a good overall vibe.
Yeah, we would need a net gain of 4 seats to have control of the Senate, and that's
tall order.
And then the House is its own circus.
Baby. We have redistricting going on. Currently, the expected range of outcomes of redistricting could be a Republican gain of about 4 seats or a Democratic pickup of 2 seats, depending on how the remaining states go. There's a lot of competitive races, less than there were 5 years ago or before prior to that, but still over 20 that are worth watching really closely.
Say I had $10, $100. I don't know where to put it, but I want to make an impact this cycle in the House. What would you recommend?
Just off the top of my head, I would encourage people, especially if you're thinking about giving $10 or $1,000 right now, you should be looking at the challenger women in the House, not the Senate races, the challenger women in the House. Go look at Joanna Mendoza, Paige Cognetti, Christina Bohannon, Rebecca Cook, Janelle Stelson, all these women running in highly, highly competitive races to flip seats that we need in order to take back the House next year.
Okay, well, I feel like that's a good table setting of the races this year. What else are you looking forward to this year? Are there any bills that you hope really get passed this year?
So we talked about it before with the Epstein files, but the shift that's happened around discharge petitions is a really big deal that most people won't know anything about. But what that means is Democrats have been able to peel off a couple. All they need is like 4 Republicans at any given time to sign on to a discharge petition, and then they can force a vote on their bill. It doesn't mean that it will pass. It doesn't mean that it'll get voted on in the Senate, but they can force Republicans to take hard votes by getting 4 Republicans to sign on to what's known as a discharge petition. That worked for the Epstein files. That worked for the ACA subsidies extension just recently. And that worked for a vote on federal contractors' labor protections that was led by Jared Golden. They're attempting a bunch more of these, starting with a ban on stock trading for members of Congress.
To that point, we have some fan mail that I want to read because I thought it was insightful. Read the ban on stock trading for members of Congress. 1, I 100% agree. You can't require members to liquidate position. That's not reasonable. Check. 2, the fact that they're acting like they can't just copy and paste from what all financial institution employees are required to do is either ignorant or on purpose. My husband and I both work for financial institutions. The rules are I must disclose and have approval for all investment accounts for my company and his. They are also allowed to say which brokers you can and cannot work with. And then for each trade, I must request and receive approval from both companies before placing it, and they can reject for any reason. Same for any sales. You are also 100% required to hold for 30 days or longer. No day trading allowed. They put these restrictions in place for financial service individuals. It seems obvious to me to apply the same rules or acting like it's unprecedented.
Period. Thank you for writing in.
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
There's no name. Sorry. Or in my email, there's no name.
Okay. Well,
but New Jersey, thank you.
Thank you, New Jersey. I think that's super reasonable. Like, double click
on that.
For sure.
Like, get me something that can just hold the keypad down. Like, it is so insane. Surely we can pressure enough members of Congress.
So here's the split right now, not to make everyone mad after a really positive episode, but there are 2 discharge petitions currently about a stock trading ban. One is led by Anna Paulina Luna, who's a Republican from Florida, who has been adamant about this issue and has been a thorn in Mike Johnson's side about it. And that one has enough Republican signatures already that if all Democrats go with it, it'll have enough support to force a vote. The issue is it only applies to Congress, not the executive. And so Hakeem Jeffries is quietly maneuvering to move people behind a Democratic-led discharge petition that also bans stock trading and ownership, the same policies for the president and vice president, which is probably a deal breaker for most Republicans. Most
Republicans, they want
Republicans,
Daddy Trump to keep being able to do whatever he wants.
Exactly. They're terrified. They're terrified of him. And so I think that perfect might be the enemy of good here. And we probably need to bully Democrats into just getting on to the Anna Paulina Luna one. But I think that's also the one that requires liquidation. I have to look into it more.
I agree with you. I don't think liquidation makes sense because it the barrier of entry then to running for federal office is kind of like,
right,
I'm not gonna have this job forever. So
right.
You want me to liquidate my retirement or
right?
Yeah, it's just common sense. Did you see also in 25 Trump sold his media company to a nuclear fusion company?
Bananas. I did.
That doesn't make any literal sense.
If you're a grifter in chief, it makes a ton of sense. If you are actively spending all day thinking about how you and your buds can invest in really cheap stock and then use your position as president to jack that stock up 100 to 500% and then sell it all, it actually makes a ton of sense to me.
It's just they're not even the same thing. Fusion Energy versus a shitty media company.
Do you know how much Trump Media, whatever the fuck, made in 2025?
No.
$3 million.
It's insane.
No money.
No money.
No money. That is zero revenue because it's a shitty company. And the only reason it had stock value at all and they made all this money off of it was because he's president.
It's disgusting.
It is.
Anyway.
We can't end on that note.
No.
What else are you looking at or forward to in 2026?
I'm excited to be able to actually have a larger electoral slate and get more people activated and engaged to go vote. I think that the culture around voting is changing. I think we saw that with our mayoral election here in New York. I think people understand more the direct correlation between who was representing them at the local, state, and federal level and how that impacts their daily lives. And I am excited to build program and messaging and narrative around that for more people, especially for more young people to go to the polls.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm looking forward to subpoena power. When we flip the House, Democrats will have subpoena power once again, and we will be using it aggressively, let me tell you. So let's win the damn midterms.
Hell yeah. Okay, well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Vibes Only is a production of Vibes Only the Podcast, LLC, produced by us, Glennis Meagher and
Brian Derrick,
with audio producer Baze Hohen and digital producer Maddie Hart. We want to hear from you. Send us voice notes, drop a comment, and if you're vibing with the pod, share it with your friends. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you next week.
See ya.